Gypsy! Gypsy! Come here.
Week 17, day 3, Urban Nagoge.
Go on.
Get that just slightly better. Na 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 na.
You want to open running?
Northampton version. Woo! With the expensive camera and the gimbal. So what's the name of this place then?
This is... I can't remember now. Shannon Lake. Don't worry about it. I can't remember. Sure, there's a sign somewhere. Yeah. I'll remember when we get back. I'll turn the video off and I'll remember.
Yeah.
That's what that usually the case though, isn't it?
We may pass a sign.
It used to be a fishing lake, and it's but they've shut all the fishing off now, and it's nice. You can walk around.
Ah, the ever popular shopping trolley.
No. Annoying. Well, it's just a industrial area.
Trollium capitalistus.
Oh, right.
The southern greater shopping trolley.
Well, we are on our way to Staunton Pit Nature Reserve. Oh, right. I'm also making it up a little bit. Well, Northampton Irish gypsies on the nature reserve right at the entrance. So if they're not gone today, I'm going to phone up somebody and basically the next one at the nature reserve.
So what's that big tower there?
That is the lift tower, that's all it's called. I don't know why. It's been there longer than well, a long time. A very long time. There is. The only interesting about that is there is a pair of peregrines that nest there every year religiously, and you get to watch them hunt and stuff all around this area. I've even witnessed them catching pigeons in the park. You know, where the park we walked through and we came out the house. You know, I've seen them make kills there for the chicks and carry it off. And you get a lot of people, so you'll come out on walks various days when they're nesting earlier in the year, and you'll see people here with tripods over there in the park with massive camera set up, just watching the nest.
Right.
So, obviously,
I was always told that was where the Tuscany left. The breakfast system left.
Maybe, it might be. It's got something called the lift tower. I suppose it's got a purpose. And all I ever see is people doing abseiling down it, and the fact that and that's only run around the peregrines when they're nesting. So no one goes up there, nothing's on during the spring when they're nesting. And then when they all bugger off, it all fires up back into use again.
And there's just the red light at the top that you see at night.
So that's good. I've got 4 minutes now on the camera.
And that's it.
That's the setting then. Oh, you've recorded 4 minutes.
Yeah.
Ah.
So I don't know what I was doing. I mean, I've done the same things I've done every day, and this is the first time it's instantly to film. Which is typical, because I'm not talking.
It's my tech mojo.
Yeah. But I'll tell you what I've done differently. I haven't plugged the Bluetooth handset in. I've done it manually.
That's probably why. Or it's got to have something to do with it.
It might have something to do with it, I don't know. So we're just going past the rugby playing fields.
Things.
On the overflow car park.
Although they have started using that car park more and more. Yeah. It used to be empty. The only time it was ever used was like when there was football matches on.
I use it because it's a big puddle and Gypsy likes to have a drink in it and lay down.
That was like. But apart from that, it was always empty.
This goes up to 10 minutes.
There you go. You can catch the Saints practice pitch.
There's got to be something that tower's for.
Well, it's only ever been referred to as a lift tower.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it's like set stuff there or what.
You know, if only there was like a single source of all the useful information in the
one
world
place.
that you could easily tap into, maybe with like a big lumpy thing with a keyboard on it, or perhaps, you know, Wi-Fi.
Something.
You know, perhaps you could roam around and ask it questions, but that's crazy talk.
That's common sense, and nobody does common sense anymore.
The most interest for me, I've not that much interest in that tower outside of this peregrine's nesting at the top. So I really don't care why it's there and how long it's been there and what it's for. The only thing that even made me pay any attention to it is there's a pair of peregrines that nest up there every year.
Yeah.
That's as far as my interest of the building goes.
And the reference points if you ever get lost.
Well, yeah,
This tower, I know where we are now.
Although, Mr. Stone Age man here realised that I was in the middle of Holston Firs the other day, and I found Google Maps. And it was brilliant.
No, it is the maps of Google. Show me on the chart.
And it showed
No,
me
we
that
only look at maps that are carved in vellum, or on the skins of young cows.
puddle's all dried up, Gypsy. What are you going to do now?
Pass me the parchment, my dear. See, the great thing about a gimbal is it makes you look like you actually use a camera. It's awesome.
I'm not mine that's going doing.
Hey, it's fine.
These just aren't very expensive. They do a mobile phone version of this.
Oh, I'm not that worried. This will do. Because this is multi-purpose, you see. If it's really raining heavy and I'm out in the woods, I can sit in my hammock and watch a video and just set the tripod up on it, angle the phone and sit there and watch a movie without having to hold my phone.
And you can beat the ragamuffins out of your way with it. Out of my way, ragamuffin.
Well, there's that as well.
But that as well. You can't argue that.
You know, I don't think a gimbal would...
I have mastered all the technology of a stick. Yes.
Don't underestimate sticks are good. Sticks are wicked.
It's like the beginning of 2001. Would you like a bone to chuck into air? Like one of the more advanced monkeys.
Oh, look at that. We're almost up to 10 minutes and it hasn't gone wrong
Woo!
yet.
Hey,
Look at that.
that's progress.
And I did nothing but manually start it, not using the Bluetooth switch, so maybe that is the issue. Although,
You know, I'm the least technical of all my friends apart from you.
Yeah, well, I am very, very not technical.
You know. Like, my questions about technology makes people roll their eyes that I know. So I'm glad this is on camera.
That's all right. I openly admit that I was born in the wrong era. I should have been born like 100,000 years ago or something.
Yeah, probably, about then.
However, if any of those techie people want to know how to start a fire with a piece of string, that
See,
they
some
make
of them
themselves, I'm your dude.
Some of them do know how to do that.
That's even better. I've only recently got into a bit of tech, so I'm way behind. I mean, this is my first decent mobile phone ever. I've been in the Stone Age.
Oh, do you remember when they were like bricks and we were all like, oh, look at my phone, it can send SMS messages and all.
Yeah.
Woo!
You have to type the keyboard
This is me.
times to get
This
your
is me browsing internet on WAP.
Well, to be honest, my last phone probably was one that you only make calls on.
It's like, if you don't think that's a chunky phone, go back and watch The Matrix again.
I had one of them.
Phil had one of them,
This one's going on.
and we oohed and ahed at it like it was the glowing white heat of technology. We're like, ooh, it's a flip phone. Ooh.
Right, it worked. I've got 2 minutes. Means I can get a decent video in next time. Happy days.
That was just that. Woo. I shall bear the torch of technology along with us, in front of us. Like a staff of documentary making office.
Now, this is Staunton Pits Nature Reserve.
Staunton Pits Nature Reserve.
This is where we're in Northampton.
Dun, dun, dun. And will there be litter? There will be litter.
There will be,
Hopefully not.
because it's been. Well, I'll wait till we've seen if they're here or not before I say the words. So this was pristine, but like I said, there's been some travellers here. Just parked round the bend, so this would be.
I'm gonna get on here.
I think they must have bugged the gate because I rang up and moaned, and I believe my friend rang up and moaned as well. Yeah, that they've left all this crap behind.
Gypsy?
That's alright, isn't it?
I know. I just want to make sure.
I think I shall be bringing bin bags over tomorrow and having a clean up.
Yeah, I started doing that in the woods where I live, and for the past couple of months I've just been too dispirited. It's like, oh yes.
Well, you've got to imagine that I've been, this place for every time I come here has been spotless. So that'll be the gypsies.
Because I can't understand how people can't take their litter back with them. There's plenty of bins around. Put it in the bin.
You don't see litter in the nature reserve really, generally, while you're over here. This is well, because it's the first one I've ever seen it. So, and it looks like they've dumped all their rubbish. I might have to start cleaning a bit of this up. Bastards, but there's no need for it.
Well,
I think this might have been the result of me and Chalky ringing up the
council.
Not the council, the people that manage the nature reserve. Both me and him rung up the other day, and unknowingly the both of us had rung up.
The same day.
Yeah.
Well, it is annoying though, isn't it?
Yeah, look, those bastards have left all this crap.
yeah, well, there's always a second side to the story.
What?
Generally speaking, I mean, if you were like completely, disenfranchised by society and you were moving around because you had to,
Yeah.
because you're only allowed to stay and you didn't have the resources to go,
It's
right,
their choice to do
I
it.
will now get a job. But it's a cultural thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's like saying, well, you can't have a job because you
Yeah,
have
but
dreadlocks. Well,
see that grey
that's your
building
choice.
over
Yeah,
there?
but
That's the rubbish tip. That's the recycling centre.
I get it, but it's more about how disenfranchised are you? I bet if you it's a bit like when people visit areas where people live in Kentucky, where the coal mining industry is just fucked off. And their places are all like shit tips. I mean, it's generally due to, people feeling that they're not part of society and that they've been cut off, so they don't tend to give much of a toss about society's conventions. But there's probably just as much litter here as if we went for a walk round the 4 or 5 streets that you're nearest.
Yeah.
There's probably the same amount of rubbish strewn about.
But they're still like it here.
So
the reed beds are nice.
It's not down to that particular group of people, it's generally down to despair. If you could,
Well, it don't stop me getting irritated with people because there's no. I'm going to be stubborn and say everybody comes out and goes, "Isn't this beautiful?" So take your fucking litter home with you.
yeah, but I mean
Even when you're walking down the street,
I'm not saying every single example of dropping litter is down to despair.
I do understand
I'm
what
saying
you're
it's a
saying.
very antisocial thing to do. But, if society isn't something that you are either a part of or allowed to be a part of or you're disenfranchised from, then, because basically the Romani population in this country used to own a hell of a lot of land. Is that an apple tree?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I've not noticed that.
Because during the English Civil War, they were the only people that could move around and make charcoal, which is absolutely required for gunpowder. So the parliamentarian government
These are lovely.
gave them huge parcels of land throughout that war, and then reneged on it after that. And then successive governments ever since then, for the past 300 years, have just made it ever more difficult to be a traveller, including things like the Act of Enclosure, where all the common land was taken away and sold to wealthy people. Yeah, they always pit working class people against travelling folk. Whereas it's not the working class people that have really got a beef with travelling folk, it's hard to take a census and it's almost impossible to tax travelling folk. So the government is kind of the opinion that anything they can say or do or manufacture to impact on those people, because nobody cares about them, because we've been trained not to care about them. But that's a fairly new, in the last couple of 100 years, attitude to people that travelled around. They're a vital resource about 300 years ago for lots of things. Like peddlers and people selling stuff that you couldn't make, mobile traders, which is what they used to do. Move around, sell horses and trinkets and stuff that they got from other parts of the country. They were fucking vital before the era of road transport. And then in order to renege on their deal, because they really had given the travelling people a shitload of land in exchange for charcoal and gunpowder, there has been a concentrated effort to wipe those people out and make it as difficult as possible. Now, if you knew for a fact the government was making your life as difficult as possible and egging on the working class people of this country to hate you for 300 years, how do you then give a shit about normal society? They did the same thing to Native Americans. They did the same thing to black people living in the Bronx in the 70s. And before then, for a couple of hundred years, they demonised them. Oh, as soon as anything happened, then there's riots and loads of crime and stuff like that. Well, it's provable that if you keep people in a state of poverty, they don't have a lot of choice.
Yeah.
You know, you can live on welfare or you can sell drugs. Those are the only two industries you've got an out. Or maybe you can escape through music or sporting talent. Oh, but you're not allowed to talk about what it's like where you come from. Ideally, we want you to sing happy hip-hop records, not about what's actually going down in your hood. So, you know, I'm a bit torn on this, because if I was completely hated and reviled by society, doing anything that made society happy would jam in my craw.
Yeah, and I do understand that. I do understand what from my perspective.
But they're some of the very last people you can have a problem with.
I don't dislike anybody instantly because I'm so cheap.
Yeah.
Everybody gets the benefit of the doubt. You know,
But
I'm not
your problem is with the attitude that I can just throw my rubbish on the ground, but I'm just explaining how that attitude might come about in a whole group of people. Because if there are older people that said you pick up that rubbish in that traveller group, then that rubbish would be picked up.
That is true.
So it's a generational acceptance of let's fuck up this place because it ain't ours and it should be. You've got no idea how much land that was owed to the Romany people after the English Civil War. It's a lot. There's something like 150,000 acres countrywide, and the governments successively have been whittling that away to almost nothing. And they don't supply rubbish removal to those places. They try and reduce the amount of services, the amount of education. It's basically they're treated like Native Americans are treated in the USA today. And those people just don't give a shit. Because how could you, after all that time and all those betrayals? It's like when you go to really poor areas, they're often very untidy.
One second, I have to make sure it's the right way. Let me show you the corner through.
And this is how we lost Dean. We never saw him again. There was a growling and a disturbance in the undergrowth, and we just thought, no, we'll just go back. It's how every horror movie starts. Oh, let's go in with Dean into the dark tunnel.
What I call the cormorant tree. There's a dead tree, and sometimes there's like upwards of 20 or 30 cormorants up there. Sitting there. There's only 2 up there now, but didn't know if you wanted to have a look because it's just interesting.
All right, let's go.
Well, I think it's
If I get eaten by something, my last act will be to blame you.
Stung by the stinging nettles.
Eh?
I said you just get stung by the stinging nettles.
Stinging nettles don't hurt your imagination. Oh look, someone come to eat lots of yoghurt, so I'll definitely bring the bin bag next time.
Oh, sorry, Max.
And didn't open them. Threw away a load of yogurts.
3 now. 4.
Oh yes, look. I will try and do...
I don't know if you can zoom in. Quite. I do like these lakes.
Mm.
They're a bit hidden.
A bit.
I have to do that by dead reckoning, but I think I got a shot of a cormorant. What I'll have to do is stop it and
Yeah? No,
do a forced zoom.
You can see better from there.
Yeah.
There was a few of them up the tree. But
Yeah.
they're ever such funny birds. It's nice. They sit up there and sunbathe. There's one coming in, is it?
Yeah. Well, this is most attractive.
There's some nice ones. A bigger lake. There's a bigger part of it round the corner. When we get down the end and we go round, and you'll get a better shot.
We'll fix it in post.
But it's a nice place.
Come on, Max.
And back through the stinging nettles we go. So note to self, 30 seconds before this, do a pull zoom on that tree for the shot of the cormorants. Because it might be one of the only times where there's a shot of interesting wildlife and I get it on camera. That might be it.
I've seen quite a bit. Since I've been walking around here, apparently there's otters here. I've never seen them.
Well, you probably wouldn't, wouldn't you?
Generally with the dog or Charlie and Meadow, so you know, it's not so much noise really. But I have seen roe deer, muntjac, all sorts of birds, from herons and all to it. Seen a fox. Also rabbits, they're everywhere. It's just a nice little walk. The other thing, you want to take points, Jack? And I'll tell you why. An awful lot of dragonflies around here. Some beautiful
There you
ones.
go.
There you go. We've got red ones, brown ones, blue ones and green ones.
Yeah, I'll see if I can get up close.
I normally see 5, 6, 7 of them while I'm out.
Yeah. Yeah, there are a lot of dragonflies. If I can spot one that's being a bit still, that'd be awesome.
Yeah. I don't know how quickly it will pick up stuff.
There you go. Stop, you four-winged bastard. Yeah. So there must be some like hidden ponds where they're spawning and that.
Well, just to your right is another lake. We're going to turn right just up here, go up some little steps, and we go along the access road to the car park here. There's a little rivery bit that runs here, goes up, and then just the other side of that is a massive lake. But that has got a big path, and the other side of that's the canal.
Yeah.
Whereas here, this is the lake reserve. Goes right, left takes you down to the car park and round down towards the canal. And the big lake here is a smaller lake, much prettier. And a smaller walk. Not by a lot, but there's rabbits up there. By far, I think the prettiest bit is the right turn now. Canal and the picnic area. as you go round, and I like this little peak where it goes up and round.
Yeah.
It's pretty.
So you guys have got the camera ready and recording. There's absolutely no way we're going to see otters.
No, I don't think so. What was that?
Probably a bird.
Probably an otter.
Yeah.
Cormorant out there. I'm sure we'll get a
Do
shot.
another pull focus on that. Well, they have to, because they're not actually water birds by design. Every time they dive down for a fish, they've got to dry off again.
Try and get down and get out. Shake off. This is a nice view of the lake.
It's a pretty big lake.
There's all this mostly all little lake, a little river, and reed beds.
Careful.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm not fishing you out.
whoop.
First lake, Sharman Lake. There you go. I remembered.
What?
Sharman Lake.
Sharman Lake.
Yeah, that's the first one we went where you are. There's a kingfisher there that I've seen a few times.
Yeah, I've seen the kingfisher near me, but I've never ever got my camera in my hand when I do.
Oh yeah, heron might live here as well. A little bit stronger.
It's just those blisters on my heels playing up.
Oh yeah, I forgot about them.
I need to get some fabric strip.
What else have I done? Have a look when you get back. Sign saying welcome to Stalton Pits Wildlife Preserve.
The shame is you can't really use teasel for much.
We used to use that for the wool industry, didn't we?
Yeah.
There's plenty of that grows here. Certain spots around here, and loads of trees. It's really pretty when it's flowering. Unfortunately, I think I've eaten most of the big juicy raspberries. Not here. Find the packet, it's like some bigger.
Yeah, gorse when it goes brown is pretty good tinder.
Gorse?
Yeah.
Yeah. Gorse burn. We are Sixfields.
Yeah, we've part of Sixfields.
We're not far from the cinema and all of that.
Okay.
I think that's just there. There's the Scotland same. No, not the same,
Where are we going?
Alright, yeah. That's the red that we crossed, wasn't it?
Gypsy.
When we came out.
down there is just, oh, it's a wren.
It's close to wildlife
With a
photography.
tick on its head. Don't see that very often.
No.
Wren with a tick on its head.
Might see if we can do another zoom in on that.
Sorry, I'm eating blackberries. I do like blackberries. They are one of my favourites.
Those cabbage whites used to be real rare.
I see, I haven't seen a peacock butterfly for a while, but I've seen red admirals and talk show.
Now I can remember when they were disappearing.
Back in Stone Age, we used to get, we had a bug there in my mum and dad's garden, and it's always full of peacocks and
Sloes.
there's a lot of slow there.
There you go. Sloes. There is no use to sloes. Don't eat them. Just put them in gin. Making sloe gin's really easy. Fill a kilner jar with sloes, pour in gin, leave. As long as you can manage it, usually about a week and a half.
Yeah.
But even that. Oh, yes, there's a plum. Not nearly ready.
No, I don't know what they are.
Stop fondling those plums.
Just checking.
We're having way too much fun.
That's the thing I forgot to ask you, David. Are you okay with being on camera? Even though maybe only 10 people in the world will see it.
I'm fine. And it's gone.
Is it? Oh, I don't know.
It's fine, it's not a problem.
That's okay, Dave.
You can call me Dave, it's cool.
Yeah.
I'll let you off, you haven't seen me for a year.
Longer than that.
Oh yeah,
Two and a bit.
3. Well, yeah, 2.
It was like this time 3 years ago.
Yeah.
I think almost exactly. What a useless phrase that is. Almost exactly. Which is it? Got to be around 3 years. What time? When's? Slows. See, they're not moving at all. Extremely slow. But yeah. When did you get married? What month? Yeah, so it's more than 3 years. Because that was 2016, wasn't it? I was still a useful member of society and everything.
You still are. We all have our uses.
Yeah.
For one reason or another, we all have our uses.
Well, I'm about to go to a peace and love festival. There's every chance I'll be asked to leave. Is it too late to make a please don't ask me my opinion on this t-shirt?
No.
I just might tell you.
You know what? recently, right, in work, right, I've been having a rough time, right, and I've been telling my colleagues, like, you have a voice, use it. So I'm saying the same to you. You have a voice, use it.
Oh, I do. That's the bad thing. Yeah. I started a trend in Sunday school.
Well, no, because the problem is, like, is that too many people, right, will bitch and moan about something, and they'll just either keep it to themselves or tell a small group. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's it.
That's what YouTube's for.
And then you're like, well, if you're gonna moan about something, put it. You know what I mean? Something worthwhile moaning about. Tell the world. You know what I mean? Is there any way we're gonna affect change?
Yeah.
Because if you have enough people,
We've got to affect change because the bad guys have a head start.
Exactly. And if you have enough people agree with you, they're gonna change. As simple as that. No, so thanks. Bad at trees. Alright, so yeah, you have a voice, use it.
Yeah. We just got to figure out how it is the bad guys get everybody saying yes, let's do that.
Sorry, what was that?
We just got to figure out how, you know, how have the bad guys got into a position where they can go, they can just spout bad stuff and then millions of people all agree.
Because
it's like, that can't be okay.
It's not okay. And that was quite simple.
But how about, I mean, imagine if you could figure out what magic is that they're using and get it to do good things.
Honestly?
Like, you know, eradicate bigotry, make bigotry so amazingly mob unpopular. That'd be great.
Amazingly, it was not that hard. All it took was a few good people to do nothing.
Well, that was the really interesting thing about Barack Obama. It really did ease off for a long, long time. Like, he got 2 terms. And I know he wasn't able to achieve a great deal on the domestic front. But America had a cool president for 8 years.
Yeah.
And he was the most dynamic person I've seen as a president ever in my lifetime.
Right. The reason why it wasn't.
And his missus is really smart and funny and interesting as well.
Oh, that was a trickle
Like
3 days ago.
The entire family were just like the most glamorous people on planet Earth. And it's like, yeah, exactly. More of that.
I was like, please. It was a better place.
I do just think we just got to stop voting for old white people. Just say, I'm sorry.
Just vote for
no more old white people. Not for about 30 years, and we'll see what happens. No more old white men.
God, you'll be surprised.
Let's just not for just a bit and see it. And if it all suddenly works out, and we're living in this sort of Star Trek Next Gen utopia, we'll keep doing it.
Well, you know it's going to be well. I think it's got to be better than what we're living in right now. God. The work you to death.
I mean, Hillary Clinton was going to do some mean shit, but at least she was going to be subtle about it.
Oh, that's a good one.
What I don't get is the Christian right. I don't understand. You've got a brown saviour. There's no way Jesus was white, because that would be the only thing people would have written down about him in the Middle East. And then this white guy came. And what did he do? We didn't remember. We were just staring at the white guy. We'd never seen one before.
Yeah.
So you have a brown saviour, yet you really hate brown people for some inexplicable reason. God, Jesus is going to be so pissed off if he turns up.
I know where I'm going. I'm looking for blackberries.
All right.
I'm glad you do, because we're like, which way are we going?
Yeah, we are rather following you.
But I'm just looking for blackberries. That one of these ways.
I know you're.
And the path just ends in the reed beds, and you know those wooden bits we just walked over.
Yeah.
They kind of just disappear, and I don't know where they go, and I can't see.
You don't know which path leads to those.
Well, it's back that way.
Oh, now you've done it.
Honestly, you don't. Honestly, there's nothing you can see. I don't even know if they're still there. That's the point. That's a Wellington boot.
Well, I'm glad you're embracing your inner Cro-Magnon. It's great. As long as there are blackberries for you, Dean, we don't care where we end up.
No, I've walked you on the blackberry, the more blackberry route.
Yeah.
Because I like blackberries.
Gypsy. Come here. Come here.
Blackberries always make me turn into crotchety old bloke when you see them for sale in Sainsbury's. Don't buy blackberries, you go and get them.
Fucking hundreds of them.
That's like buying bottled air. What? They just are there. They're really nice when they're frozen. You can just eat them by the handful frozen. Or put them in a blender with some yoghurt. Frozen blackberries and yoghurt.
Actually, go back that way, because that will take us up that little rise there and up there, the other side. Because we're nearly out here.
Hey, we're nearly back, aren't we? Go on, because you got the best views there on the camera.
No, the thing about urban agoge is that people like to just watch people rant into camera. That's what people tune in for. He goes, yeah. There's a guy in Australia who sends me videos to tack on to the end of the episodes. They got an Australian guy going, rah! On a big old socialist rant tear. It's relaxing.
As long as it's reasonable, you know what I mean? Nothing too. Like,
oh no, you get to a point where you're cross and you're at work and you say, look, this is wrong.
Yeah.
And people go, yeah, but what are you going to do? And it's like, well, we could just stop doing it.
Yeah.
You know, just say no.
Like
I'm sorry, we've had a chat with everybody.
It's like in my workplace, the way you get like today, and I had a complaint against me for something I said. So it was I was taken as content, and it was turned into threatening behaviour. And the company now has decided that if you have a disciplinary against you, they're not going to pay you the pay award. So each year, when you get a pay increase, you won't be entitled to it for that year.
Nice.
So basically, they expect you to come into work every day.
And you expect me to be cheerful after this? Well, that's not going to happen, is it? Let's be honest.
So yeah. Things are movements are in place, shall we say. I don't want to say it on camera. Yeah, anyway.
Yeah, it's not a good idea.
Okay.
Yeah, that's why I chose a job with zero responsibility.
Yeah, diesel.
Which, if you have to pull wool off a sheep, it's quite good for getting all the knots out, but that's about it.
Skimming hairs out the milk as well, so use that another.
Yeah, I think if you're using a teasel for taking hairs out of milk, you've already solved so many problems, as in you've already domesticated a cow or a goat. You've probably got metallurgy by that stage.
Well,
or you've looted a sieve.
Before there were sieves.
Yeah. I like my job. I kind of just run my own department. I get left alone.
Cool. What do you do now?
I just wash dishes.
Okay.
It's great. I earn about the same as I was earning selling insurance, with all the rules and regulations and people standing over me 24/7 and all the time and expecting me to be happy and joyous. When they came out with their latest piece of psychobabble, which if you work on the phone, they teach you this stuff that's simplified versions of stuff that's been in action since the 1920s.
Yeah.
And you say, but this provably doesn't work.
Flipsy.
But because they've paid 10 million
Come here. No, come here.
to a...
Come to Daddy. Come here.
You're right on this bit, I don't put on the lead. I'm a bit naughty.
And also...
That's why she hasn't come running, that's why.
She didn't listen to Dean.
Come here.
To put it entirely in context,
That's true.
That's not a paying attention kind of a dog.
And when she knows she's about to do something bad.
Yeah, if you've got a dog biscuit in your hand, it's a different ball game.
Exactly.
But yeah. Stop it.